Okay, picture this. It's the 8th century. You're an Anglo-Saxon poet, just wandering through the English countryside, and you stumble across something impossible. The ruins of a city. But the stone arches are way too big, the walls are way too high for your people to have ever built. You are literally walking through the wreckage of a lost world.
And this poet, well, he wrote down what he saw. Towers broken, frost in the plaster, roofs fallen. To him, there was no way this was the work of men. He called it the work of giants. But, he wasn't standing in a myth. He was standing in the ghost of the Roman Empire, surrounded by a civilization that had, well, it had just vanished.
So that's the big question, isn't it? How does a glittering superpower become a haunted island? Who built this incredible place? And what on earth could make them leave it all behind?
To really get the fall, we've got to understand the peak. By the 3rd century, Roman Britain wasn't some sleepy backwater province. Oh no, it was a bustling, wealthy, crucial part of the empire. Cities like London and Colchester had shot up with amazing speed, and they had it all. White marble forums, busy markets. This was a civilization that really seemed like it would last forever.
And we're not talking about some isolated little island. Excavations show a society that was completely plugged into this huge global network. I mean, its citizens were drinking wine from Gaul, they were cooking with olive oil from Spain, and seasoning their food with spices that came all the way from India.
But here's the thing. Keeping all this luxury going came at a massive cost. To hold the island, Rome needed a giant garrison of soldiers. At its height, that number is estimated to be as high as 40,000. And that huge army, the very thing that was meant to be Britain's shield, would tragically become a very dangerous temptation, and ultimately its fatal flaw.
So, how did that happen? How does your greatest strength become your biggest weakness? Well, it all comes down to a concept historians now call the British mistake. It's the core paradox that would unravel the whole thing.
Okay, so here's the paradox. The general in charge of that huge 40,000-man army had enough power to defend Britain from pretty much any threat. But, and this is the absolute key, he also had enough power to take that army, cross the channel, and try to become emperor himself. So Britain's strength was also its greatest vulnerability. See the problem?
And look, this wasn't just some theory. It actually happened, twice. In 383 AD, a general named Maximus, gave in to that ambition. He took the whole garrison, what one writer called the flower of the youth, and sailed to the continent to fight a civil war. He won, but he never came back. Then, just over 20 years later, in 407, a soldier named Constantine did the exact same thing, stripping the island of its very last defender.
And we have cold, hard evidence of this moment. It's amazing, really. The very last Roman coins that archaeologists have found in Wales are dated to 383 AD, the exact year Maximus took the army and left. You can literally see the system starting to break down in real time.
So, with the legions gone, the northern tribes started raiding. The people of Britain were terrified. They sent these desperate letters to the Emperor Honorius in Rome, begging him to send the army back. But in 410 AD, his reply just sealed their fate. He told the British cities to look to their own defenses. That was it. It was over. Rome was never coming back.
You see, the silence that followed wasn't just about the soldiers leaving. The collapse was twofold. First, the military shield was gone, leaving the border totally unguarded. But just as devastating was the economic collapse. Without that constant river of imperial coin paying for everything, the entire complex economy just fell apart. And what happened next wasn't some sudden fiery apocalypse. It was a slow, agonizing decay. A long silence fell over the island as an entire industrial world just vanished, leaving a whole population stranded in the ruins of their own golden age.
I mean, think about the symbols of Roman power, right? The great bathhouses, these absolute marvels of plumbing and engineering, they were some of the first things to go. Without the experts around to maintain them, their pipes clogged up with silt and they just fell into ruin.
The loss of knowledge was just catastrophic. Archaeologists have found that people literally forgot how to make pottery on a wheel. Think about that. Basic skills, things that had been fundamental to their way of life for centuries, they just vanished. People even stopped using something as simple as iron nails for coffins.
And as people forgot, nature started to remember. It began to reclaim the great cities. In York, excavations show marsh beetles and frogs living in the city walls. The mighty metropolis was literally sinking back into the swamp it was built on.
And this brings us right back around to our poet. The new Anglo-Saxon tribes who showed up, they stayed away from these stone cities. They were deeply suspicious of them. They believed the ruins were haunted by ghosts and curses. They would actually bury ritual objects near the walls to try and ward off the spirits they were sure still lingered there. So to them, these buildings couldn't possibly be the work of men. They had to be the work of giants.
You know, the story of Roman Britain is such a powerful reminder of a simple, kind of scary truth. Even the most complex societies, the ones that seem eternal, are fragile. Civilization isn't some destination you just arrive at. It's a constant process, something that needs maintenance and knowledge and stability to keep going.
Which, of course, leaves us with one final, haunting question to think about. It kind of asks us to listen to these echoes from the past and just wonder, if our own cities, with all of our amazing technology and complexity, were to fall silent tomorrow, what ghosts would we leave for the future to find? What would they think was the work of giants?